how do you define success, at the end of the day? And to me, success is how many lives have you touched in a positive way.
Hello, friends. Welcome to a new episode of Merging Minds powered by BureauWorks. Today, I am excited to have with us the amazing, the great, the energetic Ludmila Golovine. Hey, Mila.
Thank you for having me.
It's an honor to have you. I was so much looking forward to having you here to interview you, to having you share your experience with us. That I'm like overexcited,
Thank
overexcited. Thank you
you.
so much. Thanks for taking the time. So, for those who don't know Ludmila yet, I mean, everything you have to know her if you're in the localization industry. She's the founder of MasterWord. She's based in Texas, right? But why am I doing introducing you? Please, can you do it yourself? Who's better to
Well, you're
introduce?
doing a really good job. You're doing a really good job. So, yes, I'm a founder of MasterWord. We're headquartered in Texas, but we work all over the U.S. nationally, and we work globally as well. So, and I think our birthday was in 1993. So wherever that puts us, 30 years plus.
Nice, nice. And like I always try to ask this to the people that come here. How do you stumble upon the localization industry? Is your background a linguist, or how did you find it?
Well, believe it or not, this was something I wanted to do when I already knew I wanted to be a translator when I was 12,
Yeah.
which is kind of like most people fall into the industry by accident. But for whatever reason, I wanted to be a translator. And I was playing as a kid being a literary translator.
Wow.
So growing up behind the Iron Curtain, right, where we didn't have access to books, we didn't have access to any. We only had very, very control access to limited information. I wanted to read other books, so I wanted to translate stories. So that was my childhood dream, and then I had the opportunity to come to this country when Soviet Union started falling apart. Actually had a group of tourists buy me a ticket, but that's a whole other story.
You can
And
share it with us. It's beautiful. This is the human podcast, eh?
yes, yes. And I ended up getting a degree in finance. I did while I was doing translating and interpreting to pay my way through college, I did my first internship, realized I don't just not like that field, I don't like it with every cell of my body. And so I ended up becoming a translator, and then start, as a translation company, and then interpreting, and the rest is history.
Yeah, yeah. So I think you have a background similar to mine. I studied law here. It's like my law degree is hanging there by the wall outside in the corridor because I'm at my parents' place. It's been there for 15 years. I haven't touched it. I didn't like at all what I studied. I went. I think a big part in where you are today comes from the relationships you build, from the international friendships you build, and to me that was key. I wanted to make international friends, and then I stumbled upon this industry. So I mean, that's and
And make a lot of international friends in this industry.
yes, indeed, yes, indeed. And I want to ask you because one of the things, like for those friends that are following Emerging Minds, I always try to invite leaders, especially I am very keen on interviewing and having on the podcast founders, because one of the things that I always see out there, and we always see, is like there's a layoff, people get lose their jobs, people are not happy with the jobs, and nobody talks enough about entrepreneurship in this industry. So I'm happy to have a great entrepreneur here who's been successful for 30 plus years. Were you that kind of like, I need a job girl, or you wanted to found your company from the very beginning?
Well, I did try having a job, and that
Okay.
was another thing that didn't sit well. And as I was doing my first interpreting assignments, or as I started as an interpreter, I actually had an interpreting. I was working as an interpreter for one of the for NASA, so interpreting for when they were first kind of building the space station, and I was offered a full time job. And I remember walking out going, I'm going to be so depressed if this is it. I'm going to be, as much as I loved the project. So I ended up turning it down and just going, I love what comes with the actually sometimes not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow and kind of creating your own opportunities and your own adventure. It's kind of like build your own adventure thing.
Yes, yes, that's beautiful, and I appreciate you say those things, and you mentioned that because, as I said, there's not so much people that think about entrepreneurship. Right? I don't know if it's because of the fear, if it's because of the unsafety of I'm not gonna have a salary at the end of the month. I don't know. So, can you think now back? You said you've been in the business with MasterWord for over 30 years. Some of those early challenges that you faced that you say, like, oh my God, I'm not gonna make it. Although I'm gonna end up giving up. Were there some of those?
That thought never entered my mind. And I think that's kind of like a difference between, in a way, success and failure. So the thought of I'm never going to make it never entered my mind. There was like always like, we're making it. We just don't know how.
Hmm.
And where there were challenging situations, absolutely all the time. There were situations where first we focused like on the oil and gas industry very heavily, and then oil and gas went to something like $11 a barrel, and here in Texas everything started shutting down. Everybody was not doing any more big projects and cutting budgets, and I had to lay people off, and I had to think outside the box. And at one point, that took us actually working overseas. That took me to Azerbaijan, which is kind of in the Middle East. It's close to Armenia, north of Iran. And I remember sitting one day and going, what do I still have going for me? And I'm like, oh, I can breathe. And it was the most empowering moment of my life because when you take it down to your breath, you have everything, right? Nobody can take your breath away. If you don't breathe, you know, it, you're not here anymore. So if you feel empowered with all you have is your breath, the rest is just, cherry on top.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. And one of the things that I also appreciate on your end is with all the difficulties we've seen and with all the gender inequality that we've seen, especially in our industry, you've been able to make it yourself. So here's amazing. I'm so
Thank
happy
you.
for real, Ludmila. And like, have you faced challenges coming from gender differentiation, gender equality so far? Have you?
So let's just put it this way. I'm going to say no. And the reason I'm going to say no is because it depends compared to what, right? If you go, if growing up in the Soviet Union where the glass ceiling for women, it was really well known. This degree is not open to officially. The communists made men and women equal in 1917, and the joke was that we were only equal as far as like manual labor, what we could do. But as far as like any promotional opportunities, or we even knew you cannot apply for a degree in international this, or you can only apply for, because it's always closed for girls. Girls always fail on entrance exam, and exams were verbal. We had a whole bunch of jokes about it. So there was a lot of professions that were closed for it. One of them was international finance, and that's why I was so stubborn. When I got to the US, I got a degree in international finance, right? And then in '96, my life took me to Azerbaijan, which is again in the Middle East, and it's a really different position of women. And while it's not the most conservative country, it's actually more open, one of the more open countries. It's still very different. So coming from compared to what, I've just never thought that something is holding me down. So personally, maybe later I realized, oh, I see. I was, maybe the opportunity went somewhere else. But I've always been such a go, 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 go. Let's get it done. Do I just like really never paid attention to it? I ignored it.
You're amazingly self-made, and I love it. I appreciate that.
In my personal story, not that it doesn't exist, it
Yeah,
is real, and it is very real even in our industry when we go to the top and we see how few women CEOs are there, or what happens when private equity takes over and suddenly it's a bunch of guys that come in from outside the industry. And why is it not a bunch of girls, or why is it not even a little bit more mixed? But as far as my personal journey, I've just completely ignored it.
yeah, yeah. So as I was saying, you're a really self-made entrepreneur or self-made leader, right? Uh, But I guess that anyone at any position, leaders, stars, jobs, whoever it is, has to have some mentors or some role models. Can you name?
All the time,
Yeah.
every step of the way.
Who
And
inspires you?
so
Tell me.
grateful to all the mentors. So I took an entrepreneurship class in college. Actually, I just needed an elective. I had no idea what it was. I didn't. The word didn't even exist at that time in the Russian language, because in the Soviet Union, any financial activity for profit was like a criminal offense. It was
Oh
punished,
wow.
just like even didn't have a word. So there I am signing up for the class, and I had an incredible professor, Bill Sherrill. His story is amazing. I'll try to tell it very briefly. He dropped out of middle school, lied about his age, and joined the army during World War II. He ended up being on the Asia front and fighting in that very famous battle that we see. Uh,
Okinawa, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, Majima, I think. And don't hold me if I'm mispronouncing it right now. It's really early in the morning. And then got wounded, came back, got accepted to college without a middle school diploma as an exception. Went on to graduate from Harvard, twice the governor of the Federal Reserve, head of FDIC, and then at the end of his career comes back and says, I want to teach entrepreneurship. And people tell him at that time it cannot be taught. And he says, yes, it can. So I end up being in his first class.
Wow.
So he made a mistake of saying, he was joking later in life, I told students, come after class if you have any questions. I just didn't expect that you would still be coming 20 years later.
I love it.
So
I'm calling my. I just called this morning my first boss ever here, and I haven't worked with him in 15 years. So that's, I mean, I see mentoring and those people that inspire you to go to the next level as those people who you can really build good relationships with from the very beginning of your career. And then you look at like, oh my God, I'm so lost. I don't know what to do now here. What the hell
and
am I going to do? Right?
amazing industry mentors along the way. I have right now advisory board again. I have mentors in the industry, and I think our industry helps each other. Like women in localization, the whole point is mentoring each other. Whole point is helping each other. Maybe that's a thing about women, right? I don't know if a guy's mentoring organization in our industry. Maybe it should be one,
There
but
should be.
women in localization, welcome to guys to attend as well. So
Yes, I mean, I know for a fact that women in education also invite some men to
yeah,
mentor.
absolutely.
Yeah, so
And
yeah,
Winnie Hay's been one of my mentors. I absolutely admire Winnie Hay and her wisdom and the way she just looks at things and the way she always asks questions that makes you wonder and rethink your position. So we have some incredible leaders in our industry and mentors.
yes, indeed. And do you think, in terms of gender equality, we're getting there, or we're still behind, or what is this? What is your opinion there?
I think it'll always be work in progress.
Always, I agree with you. I agree with you. I wanted to hear your opinion, but I agree with you.
So maybe one day, but it's work in progress.
Do you have any particular policy, not politic, policy inside your company to advocate for gender equality as well? Are you?
Actually, we never did, and what we do is we'll look at the person's abilities.
Yes, you got my next question. Yes.
And we look at abilities first. So we have no policy for gender equality, no nothing. And believe it or not, we're 87% diverse, both at the bottom or at the base level of the organization and at the top level of organization. So when somebody had us count the statistic, we all came out surprised. And we also hire people with what's called disabilities. We call them different abilities for leadership roles. We have some customer service reps who just take calls the same way as everybody else, but they're deaf and mute. And so it can be just with accommodations. So we hire our whole deaf and hard of hearing team is deaf led. We have deaf directors in our organization. So the we are colorblind, gender blind, different ability blind. We just look at, can you do what you're supposed to do? And can you do it with heart? And can you do an amazing job? And guess what happens? Beautiful things happen.
Yes.
Diversity.
I'm so glad to be hearing these things, Ludmila. I'm so glad to be hearing these things. Thanks for the part you're playing for in these specific roles in the industry. And thanks for doing your part. I'm so happy to hear this, my friend. Really. Like another of the things that another of the topics that I always want to bring to our followers, to our audience, is a little bit of a discussion around leadership, because leadership is a, well, some people are born leaders, some people are made leaders. uh, Leadership is not the same 30 years ago as it is today. But since we're in today, in 2024, and with your experience and with your perspective of life and of leading teams, etc., what are the, tell me three skills that a leader should have today in our
I
industry?
think I don't know if it's top three skills, but it's the skills that I would say today. Always be curious. Right? Curiosity makes you invent new things, and always hire. You probably hear that all the time. Always hire people better than yourself, and learn. So one of the things that, if you are helping people grow, if you're helping your team succeed, and if everything within the organization is focused on having the team succeed as much as possible, then you succeed along the way, right? So another one very important skills for leadership is being able to keep a balanced mind no matter what, not
Hmm.
overreacting, not managing stress, right? Keeping a balanced mind, balanced perspective, because stress always is going to happen, but how you handle it and what you do in a stressful situation depends on you. And so kind of just always being able to have an even keel mind no matter what happens.
Oh, well, can you take from the top of your mind a situation in which you say like, oh my God, this is so stressful. This is gonna make a lot of
Oh,
waves.
completely. Oh, completely dealing
Yes,
with,
share it with us if you want.
and sometimes it's client-induced stress, and
Okay.
sometimes it's stress of what happens in the industry. We've had
All right.
projects that are so crazy, and then we are given like a 72-hour mobilization time frame for a crazy project. You don't even know how you're going to do it. Now you're handling somebody else's stress, right? So, and I think in those moments, really just focusing on the next thing to do is one of the key things. Just doing it. Just instead of being like, "Yep, I'm stressed," and then just keep doing it. Keep doing the next thing to.
And for burnout, because people can also get burned and leaders get burned.
Okay, so
I can
here's
name you.
here's
Yeah.
my secret. People, we function. We always do. There is a study called the study of values and meanings. Everybody lives by their telos, what the Greeks used to call telos. And they have the study teleology, the study of value and meaning. Every person um, structures their life is your life is always aligned with your highest values. So if you find something you are procrastinating to do and it's causing you distress, it's probably low in your values. But if whenever something is high in your values and really aligned with you, you're going to experience you stress. You're going to want more of it. You're going to want to go more to a bigger and bigger challenge. And when you're doing things that are aligned with your values, you actually are inspired along the way. You have more energy. You get so to give you an example, if you're at a party and you are just like tired and you're ready to get out of there, and then suddenly somebody starts talking about a subject and that subject like really lights you up, what happens to you? You're no longer
You stay.
tired,
You
right?
stay. You
You're
stay
like,
right
oh
away.
my god, you wake up, you get that
Yes, indeed.
second wave, and that's because that subject is aligned with your values.
Yes,
So
indeed.
I haven't I don't know about, I mean, I work a lot of hours, but I love what I do. And so when I don't work, I still work because this is what I do. I
That's the
love
difference.
this industry.
Yeah, yeah. That's the
So
difference. Like I consider myself privileged as well, because I started like, it's 2024. I started 9 years ago on on a sales role, entry level sales role, and I was able to evolve my role to do not a job, to live, right? So thanks to the value that I was able to create, the image that I was able to create, the value that I'm bringing to the company, etc., I'm able to also not take holidays because I am able to do what I like every day. And if I wouldn't be doing it, I wouldn't be happy. That's good, and I know it brings the value, as I said, to the company that I'm working for, to the people around me, etc., etc., etc. Will it be accepted in every organization?
Holidays is really for me like my vacation is just changing what I do, but it never changes. Like it's changes you. You may I may be going somewhere, traveling somewhere, but it always comes back to uh, me being involved in, or even when I'm on vacation and I'm supposed to be doing something else, I'm still thinking about it. I'm still my mind is still in this industry. I just
Yes,
love it. Just
but
love it.
I love it too. But it's the passion, Ludmila. You have passion, live with passion, and you feel it the moment you start talking to you, and that makes a difference. And that's the key to success, I think. Right?
Thank
Hey,
you.
have you seen the change in the industry the last 3 4 years, especially the last 2 or 3?
Well, the change is one of the things that is kind of difficult to handle for all people. We get accustomed to certain things, but change brings challenge, and challenge brings growth. So we're evolving right now. We're kind of like at this next evolution of things. And I think AI is here to stay. Obviously, AI is here to stay, but I don't think AI is going to displace our industry. I think AI is going to put our industry on steroids because the we had one of the explosions in commerce and growth was when we had the revolution around the transportation industry, right? We went from horse and buggy to ships and airplanes and fast trains and cars. And what happened? Did the transportation industry go out of business? No. It just kind of exploded. We're traveling all the time, but the way we're traveling is different. So where now we'll have uh, the way we communication barrier is going to be removed. Obviously, there is still about 7,000 other languages that are waiting to come online, and they're left behind the digital divide. At this time, about 3 billion people don't have any digital access at all, and so that's they live in completely different world and reality. But in our bubble, in our half of the world, as the other languages and are hopefully coming online and becoming digital, we have the ability, we'll just be using this as a tool and doing it differently. So um, and I love watching how we're exploring the opportunity.
Yes, and I love the flexibility that some people come up with because, like, I'm a millennial, and we've learned from the cradle that we have to be flexible to succeed. It's my generation. I always thought that it got caught in between two, and the only way to survive is being flexible. So now, flexible people are, I believe, the ones that are gonna be doing great in the future. That's my take. I don't know.
And I just came back from Japan. And everybody thinks, our perception of Japan, that they use the latest in technology in every field. And
You see those taxis there?
I know, but some of my first impressions of Japan is how much human touch they have. It's like they implemented technology in the right place and the human touch in the right place. One of the examples, you go to a store, they don't scan every item. You put your basket on what looks like a mouse pad, and instantaneously every single item is scanned. But then the person spends more time talking to you. They have humans at like cross stations for in their subway or metro, to actually help assist tourists or people like me who don't know where they're going. And they don't just go, oh, go that way. And by the way, you don't speak Japanese and we have difficulty communicating. They go, ooh, she doesn't speak Japanese. She has no clue where she's going. Let me walk her all the way to where she needs to go. I have never experienced that level of customer service from anybody or anywhere and that much human presence.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like automating things behind. Instead of a robot serving you lunch at the restaurant, which I've seen in some of the US restaurants, and it's an awful experience, they have the robot picking up trash and the person serving you. And oh my god, and the person can serve you better because they don't have to pick up trash. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's kind of like we got it backwards, right? We have the robot serving you and the person picking up trash.
Well, they also have on the other side what I liked as well, because just as you just visited Japan recently, and it's also those restaurants that are prepared for people that just don't want to talk to anybody, and you just sit there, you order on a machine. Then the efficiency is there because the service is done great with that human touch. But they still have those things too,
They
right? And
have
yeah,
the latest and the greatest in automation, but the amount of human touch where you want human touch is
it's there.
also far exceeding in what I've seen anywhere in the world.
Yes, yes, yes. Mila, flexibility, innovation, being out there, and never getting quote unquote old. But let me talk about resilience with you too. Can you think of a moment where you said, "Oh my God, this is bad. I gotta stay there. I gotta make this thing work. I gotta continue doing the things I'm doing because I'm gonna succeed at the end."
Oh, yeah, I have had multiple of these moments. Except my thought process was different. It was like never failure was never an option, if it makes any sense. It was not on the menu, not even like not even thinking about it. So
I have a take on that, and I've always like one of my good friends, Rob. He's in his free time he teaches in Oxford University in the business class, right? And the other day we were having a couple drinks in China, and we were talking about success and failure in leadership, right? And I came up after 2 beers and I told him, I agree with this, but dude, you know, one of the things that it's never spoken enough, and maybe those, I mean, you should consider as well, is opportunity creation. In order to succeed or to go to the end, as you say, you have to create opportunities, and not everybody might have the same.
well, let me redefine failure because I think maybe we're speaking from a different definition of failure. Failure is just an we have one set of outcomes that we're attached to. We want to go from point A to point B taking a yellow road. But then when we cannot take that road, we view that as failure. What I like doing and what I learned from one of my mentors early on was okay, so you want to get to point A to point B, but then look at all of the other potential options and the way things are evolving, and how can you turn that into something that's better? Well, remember, post it notes came from failed glue, right? It was a failed glue product, but post it notes had tremendous success. So if you look at, if you're not really attached, number one, to how you get from point A to point B, and your goal is broad enough, then even the craziest change of events is another opportunity. And so for me, my goal is connecting people across language and culture. I want to connect people to language. I want to connect people through language to knowledge, to opportunity. And how we connect people through language to knowledge and opportunity, there is a world of things. So every turn, in a way, becomes on the way as opposed to something that blocks you. So that's why I'm saying I don't know. Failure hasn't been in my vocabulary.
I love it. I love it. I love it. How can we encourage those who cannot create those many opportunities, or that are not aware that opportunities out there for you to create, to create, right? What would we tell those? What would we tell those people?
Well, opportunities are always there, and everybody has an amazing ability to create those opportunities. It's just instead of focusing on one narrow way, just kind of like sit down, take a deep breath, and open your mind to, oh, what's going on? And coming back to the same post it note, my glue's not working. It's not, sticky. What can I do with it? Is the question, right? And then, create a sticky note.
Yeah. I mean, I have only one more question for you because I feel inspired. I gotta go create something after talking to you, my friend. This is so inspiring. I want to be like you. What about you've been 30 plus years in the industry with MasterWord? In another 30, what kind of legacy would you like to leave? What's your legacy?
Well, it's an evolving question. I think have having as many people around me succeed as possible. So, how many people how do you define success, at the end of the day? And to me, success is how many lives have you touched in a positive way.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's the biggest thing. And it can be one life, but it can mean something a lot for that person, right? It doesn't have to be billions of lives. So have I done everything I could with what I have been given?
Feel happy because you've done that to me,
And
my
the
friend.
answer is yes, and then you've had a full life.
So feel happy today at least because you've done this to me. I have enjoyed, I have learned a lot from you. I hope that those who are listening to this short interview have gotten inspired. Thank you so very much, Mila. Thank you
Thank
so much.
you. Thank
Pleasure.
you.
Thanks for watching. We'll be back in another occasion with different episode of Merging Minds. Until the next time. Bye.
Bye.